And welcome to Cruise Control, your on-air automotive magazine. It's that time again to head out on the road and check out what's going on in the automotive industry. And along with me, as always, is Les Jackson. Les, how you doing?
Just great, Fred. I've got my seatbelt fastened,
I
and we're ready to hit the road with some great, really interesting stories.
Yep, and it's reveal time. There are a lot of reveals
Mhm.
going on in New York this week at the New York Auto Show. I had a chance to go around and check some of them out, and we're going to start with one from the folks over at Kia, the K4. This is an affordable electric car, which I think we could all use. Anything affordable at this point. It is the EV4 electric vehicle, and the smallest electric vehicle in their lineup. Very cool styling. But they didn't stop there, Les Jackson, because they also have the K4 hatchback. I'm calling this the modern day Pontiac vibe because I
Yep.
don't own a Pontiac vibe.
This there is a lot of interest in that hatchback.
Oh,
I
yeah.
know several people that want to go look at one.
Yeah.
Um, and over at Porsche, they celebrate a manual record, which is
That's
one
right.
heck of a record.
Yes, yes. The manual speed record around the ring. And, you watch this guy slamming through the gears. It is amazing. A lot of gear changes. And,
Yep.
yes, we'll talk about the Nürburgring record for a manual vehicle. I could watch this video over and over again, just watching
and
how he
get
hits the
and
turns
get dizzy.
and get dizzy and think, wow, I would be a little uncomfortable doing over 200 miles an hour on that back straight like that
That's
with a
right.
current
Yeah, I
turn
mean,
coming up.
you've got to know those turns because it's
Yes. Well, I'm sure he does. I'm sure he's been through it many times, but we'll talk
yeah.
about that. And also, we're going to tell you about tariffs, and they continue to create ripples in the automotive industry, including Mitsubishi stopping all shipments to dealers, changing production strategies at Nissan, and Honda saying virtually all of its vehicles sold in the U.S. will be built in the U.S. That's a big statement, isn't it?
That is a big statement, and I think it's a smart one.
Yeah. Plus,
Um,
what is it going to do to the price of used vehicles? Skyrocket is the term that's being used.
it's already happening. I've seen a couple locally that I can't believe they're asking that money.
Mm.
Meanwhile, Hyundai rolls out its new Palisade,
Yep.
and it's it's including a capable off-roader. And here we go with off-road again. Everybody's got to have an off-roader.
Yeah, it's got to be capable because you take that three-row family hauler off road, but that's okay. It's real good. Saw the reveal of this one, and from certain angles, it looks very much like a Range Rover.
It
Matt,
certainly does.
three automotive journalists that were standing next to me all said, "Oh, it's a Range Rover." And I said, "Well, they're not bringing Range Rovers into the country right now because of tariffs, so you can buy one. You can buy a Range Rover alike." So we'll talk about that.
That's
Got a
right.
hybrid model too to talk about. So a lot to talk there on Hyundai, right?
Exactly. And we're going to talk tech, aren't we?
Yeah. So check this one out. Could a horse we'll explain this. Could a horse make
Yes.
it easier to convert electric cars to hybrids? So the idea is this is something that lets you take an electric car and turn it into an extended range electric with a smaller battery, less expensive, and
Right.
incredibly long range. It's an interesting concept, and it comes from a supplier to Mercedes. So we will talk about that.
Exactly. Exactly. And we're going to take a look at the Genesis Overlander concept,
Yes.
which is yet another Range Rover look alike.
Yes, it is. And
But
it
But
combines
still,
it combines both of our big themes here at the show. You have to have this very capable, luxurious SUV, large, with tremendous off-road capability, and you have to make it look like a Range Rover.
that's right. And you stage it on a platform that looks like it's on the moon,
Yeah.
uh, which is impressive.
Yes, it is impressive, but we'll talk about that concept and a lot more that happened at the automotive show. All when we get rolling on this edition of Cruise Control, your on-air automotive magazine. Let's jump right into it, Les, and let's talk about what Kia had to show. This is still what people are asking for, an affordable electric vehicle. And they may have one here in the form of the EV4. Of course, Chevy's bringing out their Bolt, and there's talk that Ford will have an affordable EV. But I believe, as I have said a lot on this show, that Kia and Hyundai are really primed to blow out the electric market. And I think
Yep.
this is going to be a way they might do it. Uh, it's got decent electric range. It's got regenerative braking, single pedal uh, driving, which I like a lot. 330 miles of range for the high model, and that is impressive in a vehicle this size. 400-volt EV dedicated charging with built-in North American charging standard port. Um, Vehicle to load capability, so you can charge things with it,
Right.
and nearly 30 inches of total combined widescreen displays. What do you think? It's like a mini EV6. That's what it's like.
Yeah. I think actually I think it's rather cool looking. Let's it doesn't look over functional
Mm-hmm.
like some EVs do.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and and it looks exciting to drive. It's which I'm sure it is because all EVs are fast.
Well, when you stand next to it, it looks like a hatchback, and I actually said, "Oh, this is a hatchback" to the designer. I spoke with Tom Kearns, who's the designer of this, and
Hmm.
and the actual hatchback K4, which we're going to talk about in a second. And I said, "Hey, a nice hatchback design." He said, "It's more like a fastback, but it actually has a trunk." And he said, "You're right. It looks like a hatchback, but it's not really. But you could easily think it was a hatchback. It's the opposite united design philosophy, nature and humanity designed for a modern and expressive appearance."
You took the words out of my mouth.
I couldn't have said it better myself, right?
That's right. Now we don't have a price on this yet, do
I
we?
don't think they did pricing on it. I would estimate they want this down in the upper 30s, but I don't know for sure. But they talk about it being affordable, and it certainly looks futuristic,
It
for
does,
sure.
and
You know,
it looks like it's like a typical Kia. It's going to be well made. Its
well
parts aren't going
equipped.
to fall off,
Yeah,
uh,
yeah.
and
Two ranges. The front
yeah,
wheel drive EV Lite has 235 miles of range, and the Wind has 330 miles of range. And let's see, the standard battery is a 58.3 kilowatt hour battery. That's in the light, and the long range gets an 81 kilowatt hour battery in the Wind and GT line. Power, it's one motor, 150 kilowatt motor up front. So there you have it. That's pretty cool, and the
yeah.
modern charging capability. Um, I like I say, if they can sell this affordably, it's a great vehicle, and I think it might turn people into electric adopters. I often said, what if These are the new small cars that we don't have gas small cars anymore. Small cars are all electric. Could they build them affordably? I don't know.
Well, in the right numbers, they could. Um, it really comes down to the cost of the batteries, cost of the
Hmm.
technology. But I just have a feeling this is going to be more like 35.
That would be amazing. I mean, once again, their interiors are great.
Yep.
Unique styled seats. They don't just slam these things together. They do have some style and some look to them on the inside, and great looking interiors, two tone. It's good stuff. It's good stuff. So definitely look forward to driving it. Got to have the fancy light show in every
Got
electric
to have the
vehicle.
light show. I was looking at the light there, and just that look of the center of the dash. I'm reminded of Gort and the robot in The Day the Earth Stood Still.
Gort has now become an EV4.
Well, hey, I'd love to have a Gort,
Yes,
um,
yes, it'd
but yeah, it's cool.
be great for burning weeds out of your driveway. Having a Gort,
Absolutely.
don't you think? Yeah. So EV4, and you wonder. I'll just talk about this. You wonder if they could make that into um, a extended range electric with a smaller battery and the engine combo.
Interesting.
What about that? Well, let's move on and talk about another new vehicle they revealed, and this is the K4 hatchback. I was joking with their COO as it's like, can we say hatchback? He says, call it a 5 door. And I said, yeah, but you're not going in through the hatch to get in the vehicle.
It's
That
a
would be
hatchback.
awkward. He said, yeah, I know. Hatchbacks are useful. I
I,
This is
yeah,
the carry on. This is the modern day version of the Pontiac Vibe, which I own one of those.
yeah, yeah. Really, you're right. It's that super functional, efficient size and capability that's been missing, really, in the market.
Yeah,
And people, I don't know how many advance orders they've got for this thing, but I think it's a lot because I just constantly get questions from friends. When's the hatchback going to come out?
yeah. It's a good looking vehicle. It is based on the K4 sedan, which has been a popular seller for them, a
Yep,
high feature
yep.
car. Floating roof design, versatile cargo space. You can get a available 1.6 liter four-cylinder engine with 190 horsepower and sport tuned suspension, which sounds like a little fun. It's kind of like their GTI in a sense. It's not up there with it, but it's getting close. And it will probably cost you less, I would imagine. And it will come with
Oh yeah.
virtually everything you would ever want in it. I like the styling. I like the side profile of it. I like the back profile of it. It looks wide, which is kind of impressive. What they did with the lights, and as Tom Kearns, the designer, said, it has prominent hips. So I was like, yeah, it does, and I really like the rear treatment of it. Um, it has 360-degree surround view monitoring, blind spot view monitoring, live video feed, 16 standard ADAS features and up to 29 standard ADAS features. Next level driving convenience. Highly sought after tech, 30-inch total combined digital displays. Once again, interior bats above its price range. Um, they've done a great job here, and I think they should have a success with this. They've made this thing exciting using the two-tone paint, the black wheels. Um, we'll have to see how well this does. They only had the tricked out one there. They only had one of these, and it was shown, believe it or not, at the New York Auto Show last year as like, and we'll be bringing this out too. And then they didn't talk about it anymore. So do you like it? And you think you've
I
heard
like it.
people
I
talk about it?
I do like it. Yeah, I do like it. If it had a longer wheelbase, I would be interested. Would have been interested in buying one,
Hmm.
but I wanted a long wheelbase for a comfortable ride.
Hmm. Yeah.
Um, didn't But I do like the looks of it. It's it's a Pontiac vibe. It's a shooting brake.
Yeah. And
It's just got that look.
that look is always good. I've always liked it. So, and it's high content in a small car. I mean,
Yeah.
this is what I think people want. Oh, you can put your surfboard in there. There you go. Well, good to know. It's what people want, and it's probably going to be fairly affordable. Um, so I think it's cool. It's 11 inches shorter, I believe, than the K4. Let me see if that's true. Yeah, up to 11 inches shorter. So I guess they're talking about the K4. So
Hmm.
yeah, fun car, well equipped, a lot of creature features, good performance at 190 horsepower with the upgraded model. It should be fun. Look forward to driving it. How about you? How about you, Les?
I, as, as I say, I like it. I I just think that it's kind of the right car for the times.
Yeah, yeah, it makes sense. Um, you have a story about Porsche and its record at Nürburgring, don't you?
Absolutely. Porsche decided they set a previous record lap for a manual transmission car, which was beaten by over 9.5 seconds. This I don't know
That's
when.
that's really smashing it, isn't it?
That's yeah. That's and by the way, that's a lot of seconds.
Yes.
So what they did is they took a new 911 GT3 with a manual transmission, and it's 3.6 seconds faster than the predecessor model with the PDK, the semi-automatic system.
Right.
And we're looking at the video of this guy's at 174, 185, 190, 207 miles an hour, and the brakes are about to glow red hot because he's going into a turn.
Yeah.
So they took this thing out on the Nürburgring and they set a new, I mean, just blistered it.
Your Bergmeister. And I was watching as these shifts. He does use the clutch. I wondered if he floated the transmission somehow, but he just very quick on the pedal in, and it
Yep.
almost does look like he gets out of the throttle for a second. I would have thought he would have just kept it planted and just did quick shifts, but he's very fast. And on the back straight, they get going. I guess that's in kilometers per hour,
It's
but
got to be in kilometers.
he also uses the rub strips pretty much, which I found interesting. But I guess that's what you're supposed to do, right? He gets
Well,
up
that's
on them
what it
every.
takes, yeah, to make these turns. I personally don't like using the rub strips. To me, it affects weight distribution, but
Yeah,
but some of these guys just love it,
yeah. It
and it's yeah 100 and that 256 kilometers. That's 155 miles an hour.
yeah.
By the way,
That's pretty intense.
that's cooking. That's cooking along.
And one of the things, this car handles bumps better, he said, because you can actually, in the video, hear the car get unsettled at certain times because the road is bumpy. The course is bumpy. But it's interesting to hear all that and hear the engine and hear it just unsettle the car at a few times. But I wonder how many times he drove this to get the.
He's probably driven it hundreds of times.
Yeah.
By the way, he set the time of 7 minutes and 5 seconds
For how many
for the
miles?
full 12.94 miles. That's 100. It's 146 turns,
Wow.
which is very, very difficult to memorize.
Yeah. It,
7.07 and minutes 5 seconds.
that's incredible. And it's
It is incredible.
there's one turn where he comes down at least 2 gears and rev matches and that, or I guess the vehicle does it itself, does
Yeah.
its own rev
Briefly, he hit 279 kilometers,
match. Which is what
which is about
once.
100 and close to 170.
Yeah, yeah. Looks fun. I'd like to do it in a simulator though. I just hit reboot. They even had the temperature. I guess they waited for ultimate temperature. The
Yeah,
surface was 80 degrees, which is
they wanted 80 degrees. Well, the track temperature is very important because if it's cold, you don't get a good grip on your tires.
yeah. And
And in this case, they warmed up the tires, and the track was in bright sun, and there's a job for you. Well, we want you to be our test driver, and if you survive, you'll make a lot of money.
yeah, it's certainly I would call that, as we were talking about at the auto show, spirited driving. That would be spirited, very
That
spirited.
is spirited driving. Yes,
Yes,
that's
that would qualify.
yeah.
That would qualify. Well, you might be able to do some spirited driving in the Volkswagen Tiguan. They brought out at the New York Auto Show the Tiguan SEL R line turbo, and somebody used the term, I forget who it was, that this all this needs to be a GTI is some plaid upholstery. But
Okay.
it's got great horsepower. It's well equipped. It's got a 2-liter EA888 turbo 4-cylinder, 268 horsepower, 258 pound-feet of torque. That is a increase of 67 horsepower and 51 pound-feet over the base engine. This is also built on the new Tiguan chassis, which is also 170 pounds lighter than the outgoing model, so that helps as well. Seems like a fun vehicle to me.
Well, it does. I don't usually think of the Tiguan as being a performance vehicle,
Mm-hmm.
but this one certainly is, and it's got to be fun to drive. Got to
It's got
be.
it's got to be, and there's some talk that they might even add more power to it. But I tell you what, I like the Tiguan. It looks great. The new Tiguan does, and it is even hotter with the SEL R line, and I think that is a real upgrade. 67 horsepower is a real upgrade. So I look forward to driving this, even if it doesn't have plaid upholstery. But it's got nice upholstery. It's just not plaid, right?
The upholstery sport, yeah, it is nice. It's a little two-tone. It's always good looking.
Yeah. Not a big fan of the avocado color, but that's just me. To each his own.
Well, yeah, that's not a great color.
Yeah.
Well, not a great color for a Volkswagen.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, let's talk a little bit about tariffs, shall we? We'll kind of do our little tariff update.
Why not, Fred?
So, I guess this might be seen as a success for tariffs in one way. I mean, some manufacturers are talking about bringing a lot of production into back to the U.S. And I think if I was a car manufacturer, I'd be saying, here's how it is. We don't want to pay tariffs on engines and things. If we're employing a lot of
Right,
people here in
right,
the U.S.
right.
and building these cars in the U.S. and investing billions, I would say it just like that. I'm not going to, I don't think I should be charged to bring the engine in here.
You're absolutely right. If the idea of a tariff is to bring factories and therefore jobs here,
Yep.
well, you're bringing the jobs here. It doesn't, to me, it doesn't matter what the parts are.
Right.
You're bringing the jobs here,
And frankly,
and
frankly, a lot of the parts will come from here. Not all of them,
they will. So
but
yeah,
they'll
many of them
build a
will.
lot of plants around these plants for some of the parts. Will the engines
Yeah,
come from Germany or Mexico or somewhere else?
probably. But so what? So what? It and you got all the you're doing all the sheet metal stamping. You're doing all of the
Paint
welding.
work.
You're doing the paint, the assembly. These are, a car is not an easy thing to put together.
How about this? They bring the plants here and say we'll reward you in some way. I don't know if you can get your percentage of parts to 80% American. Reward you somehow. I
I
don't know how. You
right.
figure it out. I so here's the news. Toyota, of course, RAV4 is gargantuan as far as sales go. They may
Right.
build more RAV4s in the U.S. due to tariffs. In the U.S., last year they sold 475,193,000 RAV4s.
That's that's a huge number.
It's up 40K from the year before. Um, and so they're talking about moving additional uh, builds here to the U.S., right? Like I say, that should mean that, okay, I'm going to do that, but you can't charge me for the engines and things like that because that's not how stuff is done today. It hasn't been done that way for decades.
No,
So,
no.
and I can't, this is big enough to change what we're talking about here already. So I think that could be seen as a win, a face-saving win. How's that?
It's if the goal is to produce jobs,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what building it here does. It produces jobs,
Mm-hmm.
and everything else is just incidental.
Right. Right. So, to me, that's good news. Live 4
Yeah,
sells big
it
in the
is.
U.S. They're coming out with a new version of it, um, and demand is high. I think that's a good thing. Now, Honda has announced that they are considering building all their U.S. vehicles that to be sold here, moving all of it, or at least like 90% of it, of production to the U.S. That's a big thing too. That's a big deal, right?
It is a huge deal.
So I think that should be seen as a win as well. But once again, will the engines come from Japan and the transmissions from Japan? Maybe. So what? That's the way it is. But
That's right. It's just a component.
it's just a component. It doesn't mean that it's like some kind of scam or fake thing or anything like that.
And also most of these components are built robotically.
Mm-hmm.
So you're not really stealing a whole lot of jobs there. By the way, I was surprised to see that 70% of Honda vehicles sold in the U.S. are built in the U.S. currently,
Right. And they're
which is a
talking
lot.
bumping that up to 90%, maybe even 100%.
Yeah,
So I think that's good news, don't you? I mean, that's jobs. That's a lot more jobs.
a lot of jobs
Yeah.
and job security.
And
They've been here for a long, long time, as has Toyota,
yeah, yeah.
as has BMW, uh,
Well,
Volkswagen, Mercedes.
BMW, they say that's a scam factory. I don't understand. With 11,000 people. Right.
Yeah, well,
I just
there's
don't
that.
I don't get that. I'm scratching my head about that. Well, those aren't good jobs. Okay. I don't understand. But anyway,
Yeah.
that's that's not the way cars are built. They're built from parts all, even American
Um,
cars. Even American cars are
yeah.
built that way. So, that's the way it is. But I think that's two good stories. And then Nissan is changing up their strategy. Um, they want to build. Their U.S. plant built 314,500 vehicles last year, but they have a 640,000 unit capacity. So they want to bring more production back to the U.S., but they're not sure they can do things like the Versa or other things, small vehicles, because most of those are Mexican sourced components.
Well, yeah. How do you do that and make it cost effective?
I don't know. I don't know. All manufacturers have struggled to build small cars in the U.S. The last one probably was GM that built vehicles in Lordstown, right? And
Right.
so that's a problem. But
But
you
the
can
other
talk
thing
about ways to work that out.
also, how many people are going to buy a Versa?
I don't know. I like the Versa. That's a
Well, I do too,
inexpensive,
but
decent
let's
car.
face it, it's little.
It's little, and it's not. It has 120 horsepower, but
Yeah.
well, anyway. So what Nissan might do is they might either sell or lease out some of their factories to other manufacturers, and they see that as a way to make money.
That would be anything they can do is would be great.
Yeah.
I just don't want to see them. I don't want to see them fail.
No. And so that's what they're working on now. VMW. I did my own merger there. VW this week announced it won't raise prices, yet it warns somebody's going to pay that 25% tariff. I wonder who it is if they're not raising prices.
Um, well, I they're not raising prices right now.
That's it. I think they're not raising them until May. And I don't see who else is going to pay it. You know, it,
Well, they will pay, and their suppliers will pay. But remember, the tariffs are suspended for 90 days, so that's into July. Is that right? Yeah.
that's to give people time to do deals, countries to do deals. I'm sure that's what it is, but
Yeah.
it's not going to. You're not going to once again move a plant in a couple of months, or change your whole supply chain in a couple of months.
I don't, I personally don't believe that the tariffs, as listed in that crazy chart that Mrs. Freebish's kindergarten class drew up.
Mrs. Freeman.
I don't believe that all those tariffs are going to come to pass. I think that quietly, because everybody knows, everybody inside the White House over there knows, okay, this was a mistake. We gotten so much pushback from
went
everyone,
went too far.
from both parties. Um, so we're just going to quietly back off and just not mention it.
Well,
That's what I think is going to happen.
and I think you can save face and say, look, Honda's going to build like a big percentage
Yeah,
more of their cars here, and other manufacturers are going to do this, and I think you can say that isn't that great, and so
yeah,
is investing more in that, and Kia brought that in, and you
right.
know you you can't blame people because if you don't want a big pickup truck, maybe American manufacturers don't make what you want.
Exactly.
So, if they made what everyone wanted, maybe people would buy it. That's the thing. You can't say, well, everyone has to buy an American pickup truck, they don't want it, even though many people buy it and they don't need it. But that's a different thing.
Yeah.
So
So anyway, so I don't believe that those tariffs are going to come back real soon, and people aren't buying anything at the moment because they're tightening their belts and nobody knows quite what to do. So they're just, I'm doing nothing.
well,
And you don't want that either.
look at Mitsubishi. They're like, well, we're not going to send any more vehicles to dealers. They have enough right now, and we're
Yeah.
just going to hold back. You can't do that forever, but that's a little bit of a
No.
pushback to see what happens. Land Rover's not sending Range Rover's not sending anything over. So, you can't do that forever. I don't think they're going to abandon American markets, but they don't want to go ahead and say great, and then
That's right.
hey, we sold 100,000 units and they all had the tariff on them and
And
we got
and
burned.
also here in the I use the term institutionalized corruption. Here in DC, we have 535 members of Congress, and there are just about three lobbyists for each one of those Congress people
Wow, wow.
from the auto industry.
Mm-hmm.
So they're not just sitting there at their desks. They're visiting people,
Right, and saying
and they're saying what the impacts are, and they're saying you have got to, if you want us to continue donating for your re-elections, you got to do some things.
right, we need to make some
Um,
money.
so there are enormous pressures going on right now.
I think, like you, it will last until a certain point, and then victory will be declared by some of these things.
That's right.
I think that those are ahead. I think they're good on they're great on their surface. And I think though that is a play to say, well, look what I'm doing here. I'm investing more. I'm bringing more stuff here. Um, so like they say, give everyone the magic bridge to get out of a
Yeah.
bad situation. Like, and you're like, tell them
Except
this is your way out. Go on that road.
and they'll do it. Now the only exception to all this is China,
Right.
because apparently we really have a big grudge against China, and they have a big grudge against us. And that one is going to be a problem, I think, for quite a while. So
Yeah,
I can't predict on that one.
I'll be interested to see if Lincoln says we're either going to stop selling the Nautilus here or we're going to actually build it in the U.S. because the Nautilus is built in
That's
China.
a problem. And
And
Buick with the Envision and
yeah, so would be a big signal, I think. But I don't know if
yeah,
they'll do it. We'll watch for it though. Hey, let's get back to some of the reveals.
right.
Hyundai revealed the Palisade, their brand new Palisade. As we were saying, Range Rover is not selling in the U.S. right now, but if you want one, you can buy a Hyundai Palisade because it looks very
And it'll
Range
be a
Rover
whole lot more reliable than a Range Rover
and less expensive. Um,
and less expensive.
so they have a new 2.5-liter turbocharged hybrid powertrain. It's not been officially numbered at this, but 329 horsepower is the number. Estimated 619 miles of driving range.
Wow.
That's man. If you need
Wow.
more range than that, you're not stopping to go to the bathroom for sure. Um,
Yeah.
it has the first ever Palisade XRT Pro option, which packs more off-road hardware into it. And new available convenience technologies, first and second row relaxation seating, digital key, 100-watt capable USB-C ports, and factory installed tow hitch. And new safety technologies like a built-in dual camera dash cam, which is nice. I think that's a cool thing to have in a vehicle, and it's great
Yeah.
that they built
I
that
like
in.
that idea.
Yeah, I mean, truckers have them. Why shouldn't we have them? Um, and 10 airbags and a third row seatbelt pretensioners and load limiters. So, very handsome vehicle. Got to see it up front, and as soon as it drove out, we were like, Range Rover. Um,
Yes.
One of their higher end trims has like a brushed aluminum area back on the sail panel, and it really makes it look like a Range Rover. They haven't gone as squared off as some of their other newer models, Hyundai's other newer models, which is good because I think some of them were a little too square. Uh, I frankly think the silhouette is a Range Rover like, but I like it. I think it works.
Yeah. I, I'm 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 indifferent on this one.
Okay, okay. Um, it is sort of like when you don't see someone for a while, and you see them at a high school reunion. The new Palisade is larger in every key dimension. The body spans 2.5 inches
Well put.
longer, and the wheelbase is 2.7 inches longer than the previous generation, allowing for easier passenger egress and ingress. And the expanded interior employs a horizontal dashboard layout with soft touch materials and sophisticated finishes. Um, so I'd say it's a great upgrade. Certainly more chiseled, certainly more squared off, but a good upgrade. A good upgrade from the folks over at Hyundai. And as you and I have said,
Yeah.
it seems like everyone wants a severe duty off roader in a large 3 row
It
SUV.
certainly does. I I don't quite understand how this fad, I guess,
Started
has
trend.
taken over.
Trend,
I
yeah.
mean, well, it's a trend, but we're in the East Coast, which is almost all urban,
Right.
and off-roading. Um, you got to drive quite a ways to go off-roading
Yes.
anywhere on the east.
Yeah, and it's kind of I wouldn't take a big vehicle off roading because it's
No,
going to get damaged. So
I'd rather have an ATV.
yeah, we're side by side. Yeah, one of those side by side ones, like the little off
Yeah.
road golf cart. Yeah. Let's take a look at what Genesis was showing with their concept, the X Grand Equator concept. It's an overlander, overlanding, meaning
Yes.
big tires, choppy tires, but high end luxury. Um, and it is for the modern explorer, Les Jackson. It has all of the cues of the Genesis line, the large um, fender turn signal markers, the wraparound lights. It has the big console, so there's a lot of cues here. This could be something that we're going to see. Clean lines, unclouded surfaces, a long hood, sleek cabin, and fast C-pillar, which is the key to that look, a fast C-pillar, is all of what they're looking at. I think this is very buildable, Les. Of course, we see door handles and mirrors, side mirrors.
I think that this is a plan. I believe they will build this. When you go off-road in this thing, you are you. I think it'll feel like you're driving down a lovely four-lane highway.
Okay, I would agree.
Um, I think this is going to be as comfortable as you can possibly get off-roading.
Yes, I think it's a cool interior design. It has those four ports on the for the skylights. Yeah, kind of a cool vehicle. Kind of a cool vehicle. It is something that I think we'll see. The other thing they might bring out is a Genesis G90 coupe, and this thing looked amazing. I didn't get a shot of it. It is a really large, impressive coupe. And what it reminded me of is could this be a competitor to the Jaguar, the new Jaguar that they were showing?
Ah,
And but it's not as polarizing, with that Venetian blind thing in the back for the. I think this could be a hit for them. I think it is a super impressive looking car.
Yep.
So, and Genesis can pull it off, and it's built on the G90. They have all that capability. So, I think that's
It's a
good.
great brand.
Yeah. Hey, let's talk a little tech, shall we?
Excellent. We talked earlier about a horse,
Yes. Decidedly old technology.
which is old technology, and it actually is high maintenance.
Yes. Yeah,
So,
you need
yeah,
to muck out the stalls, but this is not what we're talking about. This happens to just be the name of the company,
right.
and they are a supplier to Mercedes. They're an existing company that supplies Mercedes, and what they want to do is they want to build an engine that is an engine, a transmission, and electric motor all in one casting, right? And the idea is if you had an electric vehicle and you say, well, it's expensive and the range is not great, you would make the battery smaller to save money, and then you would put one of these drivetrains in there, the horsepower train. And they are currently supplying the 2-liter Turbo 4 for the CLA with Mercedes. And they're also expected to supply engines to Volvo, Nissan, and Mitsubishi. They currently build more than 8 million engines and transmissions per year.
Wow.
So it's not like they're a startup.
They're not a startup for sure.
Yeah. And they call this the future hybrid concept, which they say would enter production around 2028. So the idea is you could quickly take an electric vehicle and make it an extended range electric vehicle with this drivetrain, maybe make the battery smaller, make it less expensive, and it would be like a drop-in thing. Now, it's going to be revealed at the Shanghai Auto Show next week. I don't know if they're a Chinese company or not, but this is interesting technology,
Well, it's a venture between French Renault and Chinese Geely.
Okay. Who's an owner of Volvo, right?
We're familiar with Geely. So, boy, in this atmosphere, I hope they impress a lot of people because maybe they can do something to lower the temperature.
Yeah. I think it's interesting technology. I would like
It
to.
is. I love the idea of a well, in the movies, the thing everybody's after is called the MacGuffin, and the ideal, like in building something, is to have just this box that does everything, and you just bolt it in. That's I think the goal, and
Okay.
it just makes so much sense. It's what could be better than that?
I agree. I think it's great technology. But hey, let's cover this story before we go. This is a good story. According to AAA, they're predicting the gas prices are the lowest they've been in years, and that could continue all the way through the summer.
Yep,
That's pretty good news. 50 cents cheaper than a year ago and far less than 2022's all-time highs. That's pretty good news. I like bringing
it's
that to
very yep.
everyone.
It's very good news.
Yeah. Back in 2023, the prices reached an all-time high of $5.16 per gallon,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
$5.81 per gallon for diesel, which obviously that means inflation because everything burns diesel
that's
to
right.
tote your products, right? Um, I tell you what, my little tip, and I won't name the gas company, but it's easy to get like 10 cents off a gallon if you sign up for some of these free cards.
That's
Uh,
right. That's
and
right.
it's amazing. It comes right off the top at the pump. I like it. And sometimes they'll say, oh, special this month, we'll take 25 cents off a gallon. I think that's cool. I like that. It's a positive experience when I put the card in and it goes down and it doesn't cost me anything. I just think that that's a way to save money. And there's probably even more effective ways to do it. But maybe get some of those cards. But good news, if you're out traveling this weekend, or if you're out traveling in the summer, you got a road trip planned, this would be good news for you, right?
That's right. People really do watch gas prices. I think more than, well, maybe not as much as eggs, but more than most other things. And that's welcome.
Yeah, definitely welcome. Definitely welcome. Anything else I can tell you about the auto show? One neat display. Chrysler had 100 years, kind of a century of
Nice.
innovation display. They had 1924 Chrysler 6, a Chrysler Pacifica plug-in hybrid. That one wasn't hard to
Hmm.
get. The
Wow.
Chrysler Halcyon Concept, which still looked incredible. They should build something like that. The original 2024, the original 1924 Chrysler 6 on display was the same vehicle that debuted at the 1924 National Automobile Show in New York City, which is
That
also
that's
125 years old
that's
now.
very cool. That's
Yeah.
very cool.
Um, I wonder if it thought, wow, things have really changed since then. I know it used to be held in the Armory up on Columbus Circle, but I don't
I
know
have no
where it was
idea.
held before that. Yeah. I
Yeah.
remember going there as a kid. It was like a concrete bunker.
Well, I don't know, but and then this coming Thursday, as you know, Fred, I'm going to be down at the IIHS crash facility.
Don't
Uh,
volunteer your car for any demos.
I'm going to lock it in the back where nobody can find it. Uh, but they're going to crash a number of cars. They're going to roll one over.
Wow.
I'm going to take some video,
Great.
and it should just be quite interesting, quite exciting, quite loud.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I'm taking
Yes, I would say it's going to be quite loud, with some very rapid stops.
with crash dummies taking a beating.
Yes. Could you get an
The
interview
sole
with
sole purpose, that's
some of
to,
those crash dummies? Could you get an interview with some of them afterwards?
um, I
Maybe.
don't know. I,
Or do I have to? They have to
I don't
go
know.
lay down after hitting something at 40 miles
That's
an
right.
hour.
Yeah, they use. I could, like I've got a whole list of people I could volunteer
Yeah,
for
don't
crash
volunteer
dummy.
to get in any cars. Hey, would you like to see
No,
this from a different angle? No, that's okay. I'll watch from the side. How do
that's
they
right.
tow them so quickly? They're on
It's
a cable?
they have a cable, they have a track and a cable in some instances. They have a push vehicle in other instances. Most of the time, it's a cable, and they're going to do full head on, and then the frontal offset where the two
Hard.
corners. That's the worst uh, damage and injury to you that you can do with a
Yep.
vehicle.
I always think about that. There's a road nearby here that has a turn, and people come way out to avoid the trees that are overhanging.
Yep,
And I was like, you're halfway over my lane, and I've got nowhere to go on this side. There's like a trough that goes down the hill, like a
yep.
concrete trough, which you can't, so there's no shoulder. And it's like, you can't do that. You know what I mean? Like, you can't say, I don't want to scratch my paint, so I'm going
No,
to,
that's right.
I'm going to like use 2/3 of the other lane. It's like, because I don't know. It's,
Nope.
as I say, people have trouble with perception of lane positioning. So that sounds great, Les. I look forward to hearing about that.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, yeah. I think that will be a good trip, and look forward to your discussion of that next time. And we'll get some people on from IIHS because I think they do a great job. And as I say, they crash
They're
test
the
vehicles
That's right.
for
They're the gold
safety.
standard. They're the gold standard.
And if your vehicle does well, you can sell it for more. You can crow about it, and
That's right. That's
that's
right.
good. That's good because it means that it's safer and I remember one of the first things I think it was they did was went back when they were called head rests. They were so
Head
low
rests.
that your neck would
That's right.
hyperextend backwards
Oh,
because it was too
yeah.
low, and they said, yeah, you gotta. It's not a head
It's
rest.
a head restraint.
Straint, yes, and it's got to be at the right height.
Yeah, right there at the.
I always adjust mine, but I don't think most people do. I always adjust mine. You get a press car, the people that deliver
Yeah.
are like six
Oh,
foot
yeah. People
seven, and
with
it's
press
like
cars. Yeah.
I feel,
That's
I
right.
feel
They're up.
like, yeah. So I
Yeah.
always go in first thing and adjust things to put it into the realm. So. Well, we hope you've enjoyed this edition of Cruise Control. Les and I went through a lot of different topics, and there's more to come. So make sure you're joining us every week to check out Cruise Control. It's time for me to say I'm Fred Staab.
I'm Les Jackson.
We are going to see you down the road.
Bye.